All right, joining us right now is Odyssey's NFL insider, 95.7 The Game's NFL insider, Ross Tucker. Ross, there were about three things I wanted to get to you today. I want to talk Niners. I wanted to get a little into Penn State, but obviously first things first with Damar Hamlin. You played in the NFL. I'm sure you watched the whole thing. Like, just what goes through your mind as someone who's much closer to it than the rest of us?
Just really scared, probably like everybody else was. I've never seen anything like that on a football field. When Joe Buck first said CPR, that's when you get real concerned. And, I played 3 years for the Bills. You know how closely I follow high school football. Damar Hamlin's a Pittsburgh kid. He went to Pittsburgh Central Catholic, and I knew about him, I don't know, when he was in 10th grade maybe. I remember watching him in the state championship in Hershey against Parkland High School, which is from Allentown, Pennsylvania. I don't know him. To my knowledge, I've never even met him, but I follow it so closely that you kind of almost feel like you do know him, if that makes sense. Because I've been following him since he was in 10th grade, and now he's a couple years in the NFL. And, there's a lot of emotions that come back to me, right? They mentioned that his mom's there. So, of course, I think about my mom and what it was like for her when I was playing. And, I think about how, it's funny. I think it's natural to personalize stories like this. And I said to my wife last night, we're both laying in bed watching ESPN, talking about it. And I said, gosh, I'm so glad I don't play anymore, because I used to pray before every game, to just keep everybody out there free from any type of serious injury. Now, I didn't even know that this thing was a possibility, whatever they're calling it. Commodio cordis is what several doctor friends of mine have said that they believe it is, and telling me about it in other sports and stuff. But I didn't know about that. But as a player, I think, you primarily think about paralysis and those type of things, right? Like, I grew up probably like you guys with Mike Utley from the Lions and Dennis Byrd from the Jets. So when I was a player, I was on the wedge on kickoff return. You kind of knew, like, keep your head up and bowl your neck because, the one thing I know for sure I don't want to have happen today is I don't want to come out of this game paralyzed.
No doubt, Ross. And as a fan, unlike a player like yourself, I've never seen a football game stopped. I've never seen it paused. And I told Steiny and the listeners I hadn't saw an ambulance on the field. And I'm like you, when I heard CPR, I tweeted out, there's no way they're going to finish. Not a play-by-play, but did you and your wife and the player in you think, what, are they going to even try to continue this game? How soon, can you share with us how soon you thought, what, this game's done?
As soon as I heard CPR. Yeah, as soon as I heard CPR and it lasted that long, and I saw the look on, like, Josh Allen's face and stuff, I did not think they were going to try to play. Because what if the worst-case scenario happened? Feels like it would be an awfully bad look if they're playing a football game and, God forbid, Damar Hamlin had passed away. Although, I do think it's interesting. I've been thinking about this. I'm not comparing the two, but I actually was on the field one time when the ambulance came on the field. I was playing for the Bills. 2004, we were playing the Patriots, and our right tackle, Big Mike Williams from Texas, was motionless on the ground. He suffered a neck injury or neck concern or whatever. So they brought the backboard out, and they have all the personnel out there, and then the ambulance comes out, and you can't help but kind of look in the stands, and we all know Mike, and we know his wife, Anisha, and my wife was there. I think we were engaged at the time. You think about all that stuff. But what's wild is, with the neck and spine stuff, they took him off in the ambulance. We're all concerned about it. We don't know if he can walk or what. you're kind of talking about it. You're even talking with the Patriots about it, and then they take them off, and you play the next play, and it feels like slow motion, and doesn't even feel like you're really playing. And then the next play after that, it's like totally back to normal, like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, man, that's I don't think that's something non-football players can even understand, to tell you the truth. But I appreciate that perspective. Ross Tucker joining us here on 95.7 The Game. Let's talk a little football. Niners, they won in overtime, 37-34. First of all, now it's time to bring the Eagles in here a little. The 49ers now the number 2 seed. What's going on with Jalen Hurts? Is this more serious than people might think?
No, I don't think it is. I think that obviously he had a shoulder injury. They had 3 games to win 1. They have a really good backup. So they certainly didn't want him to have to shoot him up to play against the Cowboys. So they put Minshew out there. They played very well. Minshew played very well. They probably should have won the game. They lost the turnover battle by 3, and they lost. And I think they thought, yeah, maybe we could put Hurts back out there this week. But Minshew's a really good backup, and we're playing at home now, and let's just take care of business and be able to rest Jalen until the playoffs. But then they lost. Minshew did not play well. They did not play well. Credit to the Saints for coming to play. So my guess is that they probably play Hurts against the Giants. I don't know if the Giants are going to even play their guys because they're locked into the 6th seed. I'd be surprised if the Eagles don't win, but they do have some concerning injuries with Lane Johnson and Avonte Maddox, but just kind of feels like if they do have Hurts back out there, that'll provide a major spark, and that the Eagles, especially if they're going against the Giants backups, I would imagine that they win the game and they lock up number 1 seed anyway. And I don't know, maybe on some level it's a blessing that Hurts and some of these guys aren't resting for 3 weeks or whatever.
Ross, you being a former player, I need you to educate the listeners and myself on this. The Niners had an exciting win over the Raiders in Vegas. Bosa, he was in on the last play that caused the game with, an interception. He hit Stidham's arm. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm sipping the Bosa Kool-Aid, but I thought about, why can't a defensive player get MVP? Lawrence Taylor got it last in 1986, and before him, Alan Page in 1971. But because they give DPOY, does that negate a defensive player getting MVP as well? Because, Hurts is hurt, no pun intended. But I'm like, if a defensive player did deserve it, I think we're watching Bosa deserve it this season. Your thoughts?
If they're going to talk about Justin Jefferson as MVP candidate, they should absolutely talk about Nick Bosa as an MVP candidate. Now, just by the nature of the sport, I don't think either one of those guys can ever be as valuable as like Patrick Mahomes or Hurts or Josh Allen or whoever, just because of how vitally important the quarterback position is. But, yeah, man, I mean, if you're talking about non-quarterbacks, I would put Nick Bosa probably ahead of Justin Jefferson. Jefferson's been fantastic, but the star has been the Niners defense. They've had the best defense in football. I don't necessarily know what happened against the Raiders. He's been the best defensive player this year. So I'll be curious. This is the first year where I don't know if they rank it 1 through 3 or 1 through 5, but this is the first year where you're not just voting for one guy as it relates to MVP. So I'll be curious to see if if you're only voting for one guy, nobody's voting for Nick Bosa or Jefferson. But if there's a 1 through 5, that actually gives them a chance where I feel like, maybe they actually will get a chance to get some votes. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Bosa or Jefferson ends up in the top 5 in the voting.
Yeah. Ross Tucker joining us on 95.7 The Game. He's our NFL Odyssey insider. Ross, I'm out in the Bay and you're back east, but people that don't know us don't understand a pride we have in our hometown of Reading, Pennsylvania. And, watching Nick Singleton do what he did for Penn State in the Rose Bowl, I don't know about you, but it just made my day. Governor Mifflin product outside Reading. How are you feeling about our hometown and just the plethora of just phenomenal athletes out there from our area?
Let me. I'm going to spin that Steiny and Guru. Okay, Guru.
Talk to
Where
me.
did you grow up?
Union City, California, here in the East Bay.
Okay, who are like some of the best athletes from there?
Kevin Mouton, Darrell Byrd, who recovered the touchdown for the Raiders in the '82 Super Bowl against the Skins, Eddie House, and Roy Williams from the Cowboys from Oklahoma, the safety.
Oh, Roy was my teammate.
Yeah, we call it the Union, Ross, but it's Union City.
Right now because of Roy, because against the Redskins back then on Thanksgiving, he made an unbelievable play for a touchdown, and we beat him, which was amazing. That's funny. Well, so, okay, let's go back. Let's go to the Roy Williams. When he was balling out at Oklahoma, and then when he made those plays for the Cowboys, did you feel a sense of pride or not really?
Oh, ultimate pride. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Good. Because I think that is the way it should be everywhere.
No doubt.
When you're from somewhere, I think you should take pride. There's a couple NFL guys, Chad Henne for the Chiefs,
sure,
quarterback.
Obviously, the great Kerry Collins,
starting linebacker for the Detroit Lions. But yeah, Nick Singleton's an interesting one. They started telling me about him when he was in 8th grade. I would not be surprised if he's in the NFL draft in 2 years. I mean, Guru, he was the National Player of the Year. He's 5-star. He looked kind of like Kajana Carter and Saquon Barkley. Maybe by then, T-Mac will be slowing down and Singleton will be the next Niner running back under Shanahan to be piling up the yards.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, I take pride, believe it or not, in Ross Tucker.
Yeah, no doubt.
You don't even understand
now,
that.
does he take pride in Steiny?
That I don't know. But it's a year thing. I'm older than Ross, so hey, appreciate it, buddy.
Happy New Year, man.
Have a great New Year. We'll talk to you next week, man.
Yeah, likewise. Should get real interesting next week. I'm looking forward to it. See you guys.